the property of tsunami waves is that when they reach towards the coastal area, automatically their height will increase.
All the countries should strive to come out with some strategy and action plan at the national level that how they will save their biodiversity.
The way CEC has been appointed, he was earlier EC. So whatever the time period that he has served as EC and the remaining time period for completing 6 years, that for that time period he will be now CEC.
The monetary policy transmission, whenever there is a policy change, a rate cut or any increase in policy rates like the repo rate, it is generally slower than as compared to those which is changed in the reserve ratios.
Once we understand the judgment, the horizontal application of the rights as well as vertical application of the rights. In the horizontal application, the rights are available even against the individuals which are non-state individuals.
French and English were very much there in conflict during the period because of the trading and the rule, who will rule the country.
Stealth technology does help in eliminating the heat signature.
Hello everyone, this is Panchsutra 2 discussion for your UPSC Prelims 2025 examination. And already Panchsutra 1, you may have given this All India Prelims mock test, and it is further one step ahead that we are asking questions in this particular test, especially in terms of framing of questions or difficulty level. Also, we can say that the questions from current affairs, they are of variety, and we can say that framing is a little bit complex also, that you may have found a difficult one. But yes, overall if you see the nature of question paper, it is, we can say, moderate in terms of difficulty level, and you should be able to cross let's say 80 or 90 marks in this particular question paper as compared to the test 1. Okay, so before, let's say, starting the discussion, let me tell you that we are going to start with PT25 marathon classes on 4th of April 2025. Now this is a kind of final revision class, marathon batch, that's what we call it as. In one single day, one complete subject revision will be done by the faculty at the class. Around 9 to 10 hours of the day there will be class, and at the end of the class there will be 200 MCQ let's say practice MCQs will be provided to you, and some quality study material, short notes, last minute revision notes will be also provided to you. So this is the schedule from 4th to 10th of we can say that April. You will be having these sessions, and the fee is very minimal. So before solving your mock test, you can go through the revision, and so you can ask the doubts to the faculty in the classroom and have some kind of value addition in terms of your preparation. So remember the date, 4th of April, do join this batch. It is going to help you a lot. Last year it has helped many students of Lukmaan IAS who joined this particular batch. Now, first session that we will discuss is geography. Now, if you see the nature of question that we are asking in geography, they are in line with the trend of last 3-4 years that UPSC has been asking, especially related to mapping section, places in news, and along with that, few questions related to economic geography and the standard question that UPSC asks from geomorphology, climatology and oceanography. They are concept based, and we can say that applied questions. So that trend we have continued here. So let's solve these MCQs one by one. First one, yes. So question is having current context here. Consider the following countries. How many of the above countries share land boundary with the region of Golan Heights? Now, if you have prepared PYQs, already UPSC has asked question on Golan Heights. See, this is very favorite area of UPSC exam, let's say prelims examination. Which area I am talking is West Asia, or we can say that Middle East, or that Levant region that UPSC keeps on asking, Golan Heights, Levant region. So at present also Israel-Hamas conflict that is going on. So region has been in news continuously for last 2 years. So 1 or 2 mapping questions we have also asked in this test. So Golan Heights, it was already asked, and you may have let's say located that on the atlas also. So yes, Israel at present controls the Golan Heights. It is located on the northern side of, we can say, Israel. And if you see on the north of that, there is Lebanon. East of that, there is, we can say, Syria, and southeast of that, there is Jordan. All these 4 countries are having border, and that's why D is the correct answer here. Okay, so if you haven't gone through PYQs, you can locate this Golan Height on the map, and it is, let's say, possibility that UPSC will repeat. Now again, some, let's say, places in news from India. Yes, from economic geography perspective, world's largest renewable energy park is being set up in which of the following places? Renewable energy is one favorite area of UPSC examination. They will ask solar parks, wind parks, or we can say that, let's say, critical minerals they are asking nowadays, or let's say green hydrogen they are asking. So renewable energy is in focus, and present government is also emphasizing on several initiatives for that. So largest renewable energy park is being, let's say, set up in Kutch district of Gujarat, and it is very near to Pakistan border. So there are several concerns related to, we can say, security aspects also. But yes, it is going to be world's largest renewable park. A is the correct answer. Now you may get confused with this option. At present, if you see, the largest solar park that is set up is in Jaisalmer district of Rajasthan. But if you talk about the overall renewable energy aspect, so it will have both solar and wind energy, and the area and overall capacity, we can say installed capacity, Kutch, Gujarat. Okay, now moving on. Yes, next question. Now you can see Reich Genus Peninsula. Many times it is in news because of volcanic eruptions. Okay, volcanic eruption, known for its frequent volcanic eruption, is located on Iceland. That is correct. Okay, Icelandic volcanoes, they are continuously erupting, and this is one such peninsula where a lot of, let's say, volcanic eruption happening. Now we are aware that this Iceland is located on some kind of plate boundary. What kind of plate boundary? Yes, it is located on divergent plate boundary, mid-oceanic ridge region, mid-Atlantic region, and that's why Iceland is located on, here it is mentioned convergent plate boundary. No, it is divergent plate boundary, and that's why here what type of volcanic eruption happens? Yes, basaltic, or we can say that silent eruption. Silent eruption happens. Okay, so this one is incorrect, one is correct. So we can say that C is the correct answer here. C is the correct answer. All right, now moving on, next question. Okay, again some, let's say, concept from climatology. Which of the following changes occur in upper atmospheric circulation during summer season in India? Upper atmospheric circulation, especially we can talk about, is jet stream. Now two important jet stream, one is tropical westerly, we can say subtropical westerly jet stream, and other is tropical easterly jet stream. They play important role in the, let's say, monsoon mechanism in Indian subcontinent. Now what happens in the summer season is, when there is apparent movement of sun towards the Tropic of Cancer, what happens is the earlier divided subtropical jets, let's say jet stream, in terms of north branch and southern branch because of Himalayas and Tibetan plateau. Now the southern branch is shifting to the north and merges with the north, and simultaneously tropical easterly jet stream strengthens over Indian subcontinent. So you can see the statements here. The westerly jet stream withdraws from the northern plains of India, that is, we can say southern branch, and tropical easterly jet stream becomes active over Indian peninsula. So this is correct. Other statements are incorrect regarding this circulation. Okay, so if you understand the Indian monsoon phenomenon properly, you will be easily attempting this question. Now, unique term that we have asked, or phenomenon, meteo tsunamis. Okay, now sometimes look at the options also, because we have asked here impact of asteroids or impact of meteoroids. Now basically, although the term says meteor, but it is because of, we can say that, meteorological factors. Okay, meteorological factors. So that means we can say sudden decrease in pressure, or we can say low pressure formation, or we can say that cyclone, tropical, we can say storms or quells. When they are formed, we can say that on the ocean surface, there can be possibility of these meteo tsunamis. But regarding the properties of these meteo tsunamis, correct statements, they are caused by impact of asteroids. This is incorrect. Rather, those let's say being caused because of asteroids or meteors, what happens? They are called as extraterrestrial, we can say that, tsunamis. They are larger in size as compared to seismic tsunamis. Now, one can easily understand or imagine also seismic tsunamis are huge and even wider coverage comparatively. So, they are not larger, they are comparatively smaller in size. They decrease in size as they enter shallow waters. Now, the property of tsunami waves is that when they reach towards the coastal area, automatically their height will increase, or we can say that their size will increase, not decrease. Okay? So, all three statements are incorrect here. So, none of this is correct. D is the correct answer. Now, moving on. Yes, this pattern has been introduced by UPSC examination last year. 3 columns, okay, pairs. Now, it is easy generally, I tell student to attempt such kind of question, because if you know any one of the information is not matching here, you can eliminate the option. Look at this, Marmugao port in Goa, India's first offshore port, in which the port will build an artificial island. Now, this is incorrect. This particular, let's say, feature is of Vadwan port. Yes, we can say that it is located north of Mangalore port. This feature is not correct here. Okay, so it is incorrectly matched. Now, Vadwan port, India's first port to introduce green ship incentives to reduce air emission in the shipping. Now, this is introduced by Marmugao port, the first port to introduce such kind of green ship incentives. So, it becomes incorrect, although it is located south of JNPT. Now, Keni port, it is located in Karnataka, Uttar Karnataka district. Okay. An all-weather deep water greenfield, deep water, we can say commercial port on public-private partnership basis. Now, this is fine, but look at this. One can easily eliminate when we look at the map of India. When we say Keni port is located in Karnataka, in Uttar Karnataka district. So, it is located, we can say that Marmugao port in the south, it is saying. It should be incorrect. Marmugao port will be always in north, it is in Goa, and Mangalore port in south. So, you can see that none of these is correctly matched. D is the correct answer. D is the correct answer. Alright, next question. Now, yes, in terms of economic geography of the world, resource distribution, and Ukraine has been in the news. Kirograd region, famous for its lithium deposits, is a part of, we can say, Ukrainian Shield. Ukrainian Shield is a part of central Ukraine region, and yes, it has lot of deposits of critical minerals which interest US at present. It is in news. You can see that critical mineral deal that US is trying to enter with, let's say, Ukraine. So, this is correct, we can say that it is part of Ukrainian Shield. Mosul region, famous for its white hydrogen deposit, is part of Australian Shield. Now, this is incorrect. Mosul region is part of, we can say, Mosul river basin in France. If you know even river, so you will get this correct. Okay, it is in France. So, this is incorrect. So, what should be the answer here? One only is the correct answer. Now, moving on. Yes, now this is easier one comparatively. Sequence of above island from south to north, it is saying. This is, we can say, trick here, south to north. So, if you see the southernmost, yes, Agalega Island are the southernmost. Thereafter, you can see that Chagos Islands will be there, Diego Garcia, Chagos Islands. Thereafter, there will be Seychelles Island towards the west, and then to the north, there will be Maldives. So, basically, sequence from south to north is 1, 2, 3, 4 only. So, C is the correct answer here. You can immediately see at the map, atlas, and next time you will not make mistake, because we can always expect question from Indian Ocean region. Now, concept based question. The equatorial countercurrent is an eastward flow of ocean water primarily between latitudes of 3 to 10 degree north. Now, that is correct. Yes, equatorial countercurrents are observed in Pacific Ocean, Indian Ocean, as well as Atlantic Ocean. Now, we have north equatorial current, south equatorial current, and in between those currents, there is a counter current flowing. not because of Earth's rotation influencing it. Yes, Earth rotation influences the direction of winds and ocean currents, that is true, but it is not the reason. Rather, what happens is, whenever these north equatorial and south equatorial currents are moving from east to west, they pile up huge amount of warm waters towards the west, and there is a kind of gradient or slope created from west and east region, and that's why under the influence of that gradient, that piled up water flows as a counter current in that particular latitudes from west to east. Okay? So independently they are correct. We can say they are not the reason explaining each other. So B is the correct answer here. Next. Now, how many of the following rivers have their origin in central highlands of India? Now, central highlands of India, if you see the region from west to east, Malwa, Bundelkhand, Bagelkhand, then we can say that Chota Nagpur Plateau. All these are part of central highlands. We can say north of, let's say, Vindhyas, and we can say south of North Indian plains, they are the central highlands. But we should understand Aravalis are not part of, we can say, central highlands. It is a kind of separate structure, a separate mountain range, we can say that. And Luni River originates from western slope of Aravalis. So we can eliminate that, while Mahi River is there, and we can say Kane River and Betwa River, Banas River, they are, we can say that, part. So only 4 is the correct answer here. Only 4 is the correct answer. Now, moving on. Yes, how many of the above statements are correct? Regarding critical minerals, yes, unavailability of critical minerals can lead to supply chain vulnerabilities. That we are every day reading in newspaper, right? So, supply chain vulnerabilities earlier because of COVID-19, now because of Ukraine-Russia war. So, yes, unavailability of critical minerals can lead to supply chain vulnerabilities, that is true. Then graphite has been identified as critical mineral by Government of India. You should know that, let's say our government has identified such separate 30 minerals as critical minerals by amending that Mines and Minerals Act of 1957 last year. Okay, so graphite is one of them. We can say other being cobalt or lithium and other rare earth elements. All critical minerals belong to category of rare earth element. Now this is incorrect, right? Rather, rare earth elements are subset of critical minerals. It also includes, critical minerals also includes the elements like lithium, cobalt, or we can say graphite. They are not rare earth elements. So this is incorrect. 1 and 2, that is only 2 is the correct answer. Only 2 is the correct answer. Alright, moving on. Yes, while traveling through the forest of Western Ghats, you are likely to see which of the following tree species naturally growing there. So, in past UPSC has asked such kind of question, and every year UPSC will ask one question from types of, let's say, trees, or we can say vegetation, or even crops. Okay, so here traveling through forest of Western Ghats. Now, Western Ghats have a variety of vegetation. It is evergreen, semi-evergreen, moist deciduous. So we can say that deciduous as well as evergreen crops will be there. Teak wood will be there, sandalwood, which are deciduous or moist deciduous, we can say, plants. And deodar, mahogany, they are, we can say that, evergreen, let's say, trees. This will be also there. Now birch, and we can say, no, deodar is not there. Of course, deodar is there in, we can say, Himalayas. They are in Himalayas. Mahogany will be there. Mahogany, or we can say that ebony. So they are, we can say, so 1 and 2 and 5. So 1 and 2 and 5, yes, 1, 2 and 5 only, C is the correct answer. So in this manner, we should be able to eliminate also. ठीक है, option से eliminate करने आना चाहिए. Now, again vegetation, grasslands. Consider the following statements regarding grasslands. Campos grassland fall under the influence of trade winds, while pampas come under the influence of westerlies. That is true. That is true, right? Campos are in Brazil and Paraguay, that region. So they are in tropical region, tropical grasslands we can say. Pampas are in Argentina and they are kind of temperate grasslands. ये भी हमें समझना है. Now, the difference between these campos are vast grasslands with short and nutritious grass. You should know that short and nutritious grass जो है वो pampas में, ठीक है? While pampas grass consists of tall grass, ठीक है? तो हमें यहाँ पे ये समझना है कि दोनों ग्रासलैंड में tall और short grasses मिलता है यहाँ पर. Okay, yes, both are found in, we can say, campos and pampas, and that's why it becomes incorrect statement. One only is the correct answer here. One only is the correct answer. Now, next is regarding, we can say, marine fish and let's say some factual question. Every year UPSC is asking about the crop production, but we are asking here regarding livestock and fisheries. Yes, fisheries sector in India, marine fish production dominated the total fish production in India in compared to inland fish production. Now, you should know it is the reverse. First few years after independence, it was the marine fisheries that dominated, but later on, with the government support and abundant availability of lakes and rivers, so fisheries, inland fisheries flourished more, and rather inland fisheries is more at present, volume wise also and value wise also, inland as compared to marine. Okay, so this is incorrect. Andhra Pradesh is leading inland fish producer followed by West Bengal. Now, this is correct statement, okay, but you should know Andhra Pradesh is leader in both inland as well as marine fisheries together and overall also. Okay, so West Bengal is leading marine, let's say, fish producer followed by Gujarat. So, this is incorrect. You should know that it is Andhra Pradesh. It is Andhra Pradesh. So, this is incorrect, this is incorrect. So, 2 only, that is B is the correct answer. Okay, and the last question for geography. Yes, so which one of the following landforms does not result from erosional activities of glaciers? Now, very easy, you can even eliminate also. Erosional glacial valleys or U-shaped valleys are there, hanging valleys. Then horns, erids, cirques, they are all, we can say, erosional. What are playas? They are, we can say, erosional features found in desert. They are work of wind. Okay, Aeolian, we can say that landforms. So, this is the answer here. A is the answer. Alright. So, yes, these are the geography questions, and the other faculty will discuss the remaining models. Thank you.
Let's begin the discussion regarding the environment and ecology section from your paper. Let's have a look at the questions that we have. The first one is term based. You have to understand what is the meaning of your term carbon leakage. So, if we go by the options here, what is the most feasible? It is option D, the emission reductions in one region which is causing the increased emissions elsewhere because of the shifting of production, because of regulatory differences. Basically, what it means, if there is, say, a region A, we have a region B. See, this country A, it's having stricter policies with respect to environment. Let's say the carbon tax here, that is higher. So, that is dissuading the companies from location here. So, they have to bear the burden of the carbon tax. So, this industry rather it would relocate to country B where the carbon tax is lower. So, what is happening? There is migration of the greenhouse gases taking place here, the carbon footprint, it will rise here. Okay? So, this is basically what we understand by the term carbon leakage. Let's see the second one. So, this is with respect to the environmental laws, the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. So, the statement 1 says the hunting of Schedule 1 animals is allowed under certain circumstances only by the Chief Wildlife Warden. Is it correct? This statement is absolutely correct. Second statement, that if any wild animal is killed or wounded in defense, it can be in self-defense or in the defense of any other person. So, in that case, if that animal is killed or wounded, it will be a government property. This is also correct. Now, this is with respect to the section 11 of your Wildlife Protection Act, according to which the schedule 1 animals, they can be permitted to be hunted under circumstances if that animal it is deceased or it is ill beyond the recovery, and secondly it has become dangerous to the life of the human beings. So the first option that has to be explored in those circumstances, it is that ensure if it can be captured or it can be tranquilized or if it can be translocated. If this is not possible, then the option is go for hunting or killing of that animal. Okay? So that permission is to be given by the Chief Wildlife Warden only. Okay? So both the statements here are correct. Answer will be C. Answer is C here. Let's see the next question regarding one of the chemicals of concern, the decabromodiphenyl ether, abbreviated as DecaBDE. Regarding this, we have to identify which statement is given correct here. They are highly resistant to degradation in the environment, which means we have to find out if this is biodegradable or not. Well, if you know that the DecaBDE, this is basically the flame retardant. It is a flame retardant and it is widely used in the black plastics also. Apart from that, in the utensils, in the fabrics and upholstery products, you will find its use. So this flame retardant, it is actually non-biodegradable. So statement 1 is correct. It is able to accumulate in the human and animal tissues, which means does it have the ability for bioaccumulation? This is also correct. It can bioaccumulate. And third is also correct with respect to its ill effects on the health of humans. It is endocrine disrupting substance. So all these statements are correct here. So if we see, answer will be C. Answer is going to be C here. Next question. From the sustainable agriculture, we have this. They alternate wetting and the drying. If the farmers are adopting this practice, what will be the likely benefits? So let's see. First, it's going to reduce the methane emissions by almost half on an average without reducing the yield. I think you all know this. This you must be aware that if we go for the alternate wetting and the drying method of irrigation in the paddy fields, it is naturally going to reduce the emissions of methane, okay, because now the field is not going to be flooded all the times. The process of the anaerobic decomposition of organic matter, that will be reduced by almost half. As a result, methane emissions will reduce. Let's see the second one. It will also decrease the emissions of the N2O, the nitrous oxide from the paddy fields, while ensuring water use efficiency. Definitely water use efficiency up to 30% on average. It has been established that it will help in saving the water from reduced irrigation. But if we see, N2O emissions will not decrease, rather your N2O emissions will increase. Now how does it happen? When there is the alternating drying and the wetting of the soil, there is alternate drying and wetting. So what is happening? Within the soil, you will see some cracks will develop. And when those cracks are developing, that is going to facilitate your aeration in the soil. The aeration process, oxygen will reach to the deeper layers of the soil, and as such, it is going to facilitate the process of the nitrification by the aerobic bacteria. Now, in the drying conditions, aerobic bacteria will start proliferating and it's going to facilitate nitrification. As a result, you will see there will be increased emissions of N2O. Also, the need for chemical-based fertilizers is also increasing in this case, alternate wetting and drying. So, Hence, if we see here, which of the statements is correct? It's only statement 1. Answer is A. Answer will be A. The next one, regarding National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plans Tracker. Now, this is the tool which is developed by which of the organizations? Answer is WWF. Answer will be WWF. Now, this particularly your National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan. This has been directed under the Article 6 of your UNCBD that all the countries should strive to come out with some strategy and action plan at the national level, that how they will save their biodiversity. So from that, with regard to the latest, the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, under which 23 targets for the biodiversity protection post 2020 have been given. So with regard to that, countries have been updating their national action plans, and India has also submitted its third National Biodiversity Strategic Action Plan. Now, to see how countries are progressing with regard to the framing and with regard to implementation of these plans, the tool to track the progress that has been made, it has been developed by WWF. So, answer is C here. Next one. Okay, question number 36. Let's see. With the application of biochar, we have to find out here which of the industries or the sectors will be decarbonized. So if we see here, all of the 3 options are correct. About agriculture, we all know that when we apply the biochar, that is going to facilitate more carbon sequestration through the soils. Okay, so agriculture definitely. In the cement industry, if you see, it can be also mixed with the cement, some proportion of that, and in that process, it is going to bring down the carbon footprint of cement also, cement industry. If we see the iron and steel, now in the production, when there is the process of the iron reduction in the blast furnace, so there traditionally what is the practice? We use pulverized coal. So when this crushed coal is used, there are a lot of emissions of the carbon dioxide. But this pulverized coal, it can be substituted. It can be substituted with the biochar, because biochar is very rich in the carbon. So that will be used instead of this, and it has the potential to reduce the carbon footprint of iron and steel industry also. So all the 3 options are correct. Answer will be C here. Next, 37. Regarding your nitrogen cycle. Statement 1. Despite its immense value and indispensable nature, nitrogen is never taken up directly from the atmosphere by the plants and animals. This we all know. This is correct, because in the atmosphere you will see we have to identify statement 2. In atmosphere, if you see, nitrogen is existing in the stable form, having triple bond. So first it needs to be fixed. So the first step is it has to be fixed biologically, industrially, or through lightning process. Thereafter there will be nitrification, ammonification, okay? And that is going to ensure that it gets converted into the form which can be used by the plants and animals. So what is that form? The nitrates. Okay? So if we see, statement 2 is rightly explaining statement 1, the reason is correct. Answer will be A. Answer is A. Let's see the next one. Regarding one of the initiatives, rehydrating the earth initiative. First statement, we have to identify it's correct or not. Initiative of the UNEP and UNESCO. No, this is actually one of the initiatives by a philanthropic organization, non-profit organization, the Football for Peace. Football for Peace. on the occasion of your World Water Day, which was observed on March 2022 in the year 2024, the previous year, when the theme was Water for Peace. So during this time, this non-profit organization, it has launched this 10-year campaign so that it can raise the awareness regarding the water conservation and promote the community participation of the private agents also through collaborations with the government to solve the problem of water scarcity. And for that, it's leveraging the spirit of sports, the football. It's a football driven campaign. So here statement 2 is correct, first is incorrect. If we see the answer, you have to identify correct. Answer is B. 2 only is correct. Okay. Next one. The oil sourced from which of the following is used in the cream Odomos, which is mosquito repellent cream? Here the answer is citronella. Answer will be citronella. One of the themes UPSC has focused earlier also, and with regards to the general awareness, this question we have here. Next one. Okay. Eco-sensitive zones. They are declared around National Park or Wildlife Sanctuary by the respective state government. It's not by the state government, rather it's declared by the Ministry of Forest and Climate Change. So first is incorrect. They are declared under provisions of Forest Conservation Act. This is also not the right provision. Rather, under the Environment Protection Act of 1986, there is section 3 clause 5 that provides for the establishment of eco-sensitive zones around the protected areas so that it can act as the shock absorber, okay, and facilitate sustainable development. So statement 2 is also incorrect. With the declared ECZs, there is no prohibition on ongoing agriculture and horticulture practices by local communities. This is correct. Okay? So if we see which of the statements is, how many are correct here? Only one statement is correct. Answer is A. Okay, next one. Which of the following animals would face highest survival threat if the grasslands are completely lost? Among these three, what you need to do? You need to understand what is their primary habitat, their primary diet, means most of their diet is made up of what? If it can be available somewhere else. So if you see here, if you understand the concept of ecological niche, you will be able to identify two type of the species. One, the generalist species, and the other one would be specialist. So the specialist, these species, they are going to face the highest survival threat if those conditions under which they are living, they are breeding, okay, they are not available to them. So here if we see answer, it will be the Bengal floricans and black buck, because these are highly dependent upon the grassland ecosystems for their survival. If the grasslands are lost, habitat destruction, fragmentation, that is going to drastically reduce their population. With regards to pangolins, if we see, the highest threat is rather from the poaching of their scales. If we see the habitat, it can be there in diverse type of the habitats. Apart from the grasslands, you can find it commonly even in the cultivated areas also, in the open forest regions also. Okay, so first is incorrect here. So here your answer is going to be 2 and 3, which is your option D. Answer is D. Next one. How many of the above pollutants are released by the cement industry? All 4 will be the answer. There will be release of the emissions of sulfur also, nitrogen also, oxides of nitrogen, carbon monoxide as well as CO2. So that basically is because of the calcination of limestone, and when the fossil fuels combustion will take place in the kilns. So during these, you will see there is emission of all of these pollutants. So answer will be all four. Answer is going to be D. Next one, Halari donkey. Now, on the lines of the Kharai camel, which was previously asked by UPSC, we have this species that was in news. Let's see the statements here. It is native to the state of Gujarat. This is actually correct. The Halar region in the Saurashtra Peninsula, we have this species of donkey, Halari donkey. Okay, first is correct. It lives in the wild and cannot be domesticated. Rather, this is incorrect. This is the domesticated breed of donkey. This is domesticated animal. Okay. The pastoralist communities, they are dependent upon this donkey. They carry their luggage and use it as the pack animal. Okay. Its milk is highly demanded in the international cosmetic market. This is correct because its milk, it's having high collagen and it is also very rich in the antioxidants. Now, because of these, it is very effective against the wrinkles and aging. That is why it is highly demanded in the making of the cosmetics. Okay? And the price of 1 liter of Halari donkey's milk can be as high as 7,000 rupees. Okay? So, if we see here, statement 1 is correct, 3 is correct, 2 was incorrect. 2 statements are correct here. What is 1 and 3? Option will be D. Option is D. Let's see the next question. Now you have to identify the apex predators. UPSC previously it has asked about primary producers, the detritivores. On similar lines from the basics we have this question, very easy. Apex predators, all these, the Ganges river dolphins, saltwater crocodile, polar bears and killer whales. Both, if you see here, sorry, all the 4, answer is D. Answer is D here. Next one. Okay. Which of these animals has proven to engage in the unique human form of the communication where we are calling each other's name? So that recently research established that it is seen in case of elephants. Study was carried out on the African elephants, and there it was found out that just like the humans, the elephants, they also have this ability of calling each other's name, recognizing each other. Okay? If we see the other animals, the parrot, monkey, okay, they are basically mimicking each other's name. They are not having the unique names, but in case of elephants, there will be unique names like we humans have, and we communicate using those names. Okay? So answer will be C here. So with this, we end the discussion on the environment and ecology questions. Thereafter, we'll have the next round of question discussions. Thank you.
Okay, so this is the current affairs section for Panchsutra 2, and the way current affairs MCQs are being asked by UPSC exam, let's say we have to be very careful in terms of restricting our study material and giving multiple revisions also. Why? Because in last now only less than 60 days are remaining, and I am telling students that you should be let's say revising whatever the study material you have read till the point, and don't buy any new, let's say, study material from the market or watch any kind of current affairs videos on the YouTube, because they are not going to help you a lot as such, because if you have already read current affairs, उसी को आपने बार-बार revise करना है, and that is only going to help you. Second thing is that current affairs that UPSC asks is very vast, and we can say that they are trying to ask, let's say, such kind of things that are not covered by the let's say coaching classes in general. But I'm telling you that around 50 to 60% of questions can be attemptable from the source that you are reading if you have more clarity of information in your mind. Let's solve these MCQs one by one. First question. Okay, so Representation of Peoples Act 1951. So it was in news recently because let's say provisions of this particular act, especially related to those prisoners who are in jail and let's say their right to vote. Now this section 62 of RPA Act deals with right to vote, and that's why let's say there was let's say about the rights of prisoners, this let's say particular topic was in news, and that's why we are covering the static part from that context. No person shall vote at general election in more than one constituency of the same class, and if the person votes in more than one such constituency, his votes in all such constituencies shall be void. Now it looks extreme, but it is the provision. Okay, if the person votes in more than one constituency, both votes will be void. So this is correct. No person shall vote at any election if he is confined in the prison or is in the lawful custody of the police. This is also true. If the person is in lawful custody of police, or we can say that is in prison, that person is not having right to vote in any election. But you should know that the person who is in jail, they have right to, let's say, stand for the election. They can be candidate in the election. ये भी आपको पता होगा बहुत सारे अभी दो लोग जो है जम्मू कश्मीर से जो है वो चुन के आए थे, they are in jail, right? Then no person shall vote at any election if he is subjected to preventive detention under any law for time being. Now preventive detention is different than we can say that the person in prison. That one should understand. हमारे लॉज इतने भी स्ट्रिक्ट नहीं हो सकते कि प्रिवेंटिव डिटेंशन में होगा तो वोट नहीं करने देंगे. सो दैट लॉजिक शुड बी यूज्ड. दिस इज इनकरेक्ट, वी कैन से दैट. सो इट इज अ काइंड ऑफ एक्सेप्शन टू दिस. प्रिवेंटिव डिटेंशन इट इज नॉट, rather they have right to vote. So this is incorrect. First and second, 1 and 2 only is the correct answer here. Correct statements are asked. Now look at the second. Again it is from Polity, but yes, it was in news. Why? Because one of the High Court judge, Allahabad High Court judge, so due to certain kind of comments, communal comments, let's say opposition parties in December 2024, they were looking into, let's say, impeachment process for the judge. At present also, because of Justice Yashwant Verma, let's say the burnt cash that is found at the, let's say, residence in Delhi. So it is in news, we can say continuously impeachment process. So we are asking here the basics of that process. Now we know that impeachment process that, let's say, deals the procedure, that is, we can say that Judges Enquiry Act 1968. The procedure is, we can say that, guided by the provisions of this. Under this, if the removal motion of High Court judge signed by 100 members in case of Lok Sabha or 50 members in case of Rajya Sabha is the speaker, and let's say the speaker or chairman constitutes the 3-member committee to investigate into the charges. Which of the following are the part of that committee? Now that 3-member committee will have first the Chief Justice of India or the Judge of Supreme Court. Then we can say the Chief Justice of any High Court, we can say that. Then a Judge of High Court. Now this is incorrect. Rather a distinguished jurist. These are the 3 members, 1, 2 and 4. 1, 2 and 4, that is B is the correct answer here. Okay, and it should be passed by special majority independently by both houses. Okay. Now, with reference to provisions under Chief Election Commissioner and other Election Commissioners Appointment Act 2023, recently the new CEC has been appointed and EC has been appointed. That's why this act was in news. Okay, then, so the provisions of this act, the search committee headed by Law Minister and comprising 2 senior bureaucrats serving as secretaries to Government of India, first draw up the short list of 7 candidates. Now this is incorrect. Factually, it is 5 candidates. Okay, then selection committee made up of Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition and Union Home Minister. Now this is incorrect. Rather, the Union Minister nominated by Prime Minister. Okay, it's not always Union Home Minister. So this is incorrect. Now, selection committee has power to consider names beyond the 3 shortlisted names by search committee. So out of these 5, the selection committee will shortlist, we can say, pardon me. Okay, so names beyond the shortlisted by search committee. जो 5 शॉर्टलिस्ट किए गए हैं, 5 shortlisted. Beyond that also selection committee can look into. So this is correct. When election commissioner is appointed as chief election commissioner, his term of office shall not be more than 6 years in aggregate as election commissioner and chief election commission together. Okay, so at present the way CEC has been appointed, he was earlier EC. So whatever the time period that he has served as EC and the remaining time period for completing 6 years, that for that time period he will be now CEC. So this is how the provision is there. 3 and 4 is correct, we can say. C is the correct answer here. C is the correct answer. All right. Moving on. Yes, which of the following statement best describes the term surveillance capitalism? So term based question, we have asked 2-3 such questions from different part of your syllabus in current affairs. Surveillance capitalism, somehow capitalism relates to private sector, private companies, corporates. Now surveillance, somehow it is talking about, let's say, monitoring the behavior of the people, and we can say that data acquisition without consent and all these things. So what is that? It is an economic system in which personal data of the people is collected, analyzed and sold by the companies to predict and manipulate human behavior. Now you may have searched something on Google. Immediately if you visit Facebook or Instagram, they will give the similar ads for the product that you have been searching. What is that? Of course, it is a kind of surveillance capitalism, example of surveillance capitalism, manipulating behavior with the help of such data. So D is the correct answer. So UPSC generally asks such kind of prominent terms in the examination. Consider the following statements. Now, yes, under enhanced transparency framework of Paris Agreement, the parties to Paris Agreement are required to submit biennial transparency report, BTR reports every 2 years. One can use the logic also, biennial लिखा हुआ है तो every 2 years होगा. Now, the small island developing countries and least developed countries may submit the information required for the BTR at their discretion. That means it is not compulsory for them. Yes, that is also true, because they do not have that much resources, technology with them. That is also one factor we can say. This is also correct. Both statements are correct here. So C is the correct answer. Then, next question. Okay. Regarding Unity Utsav. Yes, recently Unity Utsav was celebrated in Delhi, and options are a little bit confusing here, because you may, let's say, get confused. Unity Utsav सिर्फ North East के लिए है या whole India के लिए है. Yes, it celebrates the sportsmanship and cultural heritage of Northeast India. That is true. The inaugural edition was held in Delhi in 2025. That is also true, we can say, with the theme One Voice, One Nation. So remaining statement is incorrect. It was not organized by Ministry of Northeast region. Rather, it was organized by Assam Rifles. It was organized by Assam Rifles, one of the CAPFs, right? So this is incorrect statement. हमें क्या पूछा गया है? Incorrect statement पूछा गया है. So we can say that C is the answer here. C is the answer. Unity Utsav. Now next is Bakhar. Okay, so in terms of literature or with respect to history of India, what is Bakhar? Bakhar is basically a kind of Marathi prose. And yes, it is a kind of historical narrative written in Marathi prose to narrate the Maratha wars, or we can say that the rulers, their valor, or we can say that the kingdom, their administration. So it is to, we can say that, praise the kings of Maratha kingdom. Okay, so Bakhar, it is in that context. Recently, you may have, let's say, come across the movie Chhawa. So Marathi king Sambhaji Maharaj. So from that context also it was in news, or we can say that different, let's say, revolutionaries from Maharashtra like Swatantra Veer Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, he was very much influenced by these Bakhars. So that's why it is in news. A is the correct answer. Okay. Next. Yes, this term was in news, pig butchering. recently Indian government repatriated certain Indian nationals who were let's say scammed into certain kind of cyber crime scams going on in Southeast Asian countries like Cambodia, Laos, and we can say Myanmar, these countries. Okay, so basically they are lured into let's say these crimes through pig butchering phenomenon. Okay, the manner in which people are lured into cyber crime activities, it is pig butchering. Now, what happens in this particular phenomenon? Let's say the people are attracted to certain kinds of high paying jobs in other countries, and once they reach there, they are also given for first few months some money, but later on they are asked to do certain kind of illegal activities like cyber crimes, and they become trapped. Why? Because their passport and all these things is taken away. So A is the correct answer here. Okay, pig butchering. Then next. Okay, with reference to Pradhan Mantri Kisan Man Dhan Yojana, consider the following statements. So the way last year UPSC has asked one insurance related question, so we are asking here, but it is related to agriculture insurance, or for farmers it is the insurance specifically. So voluntary and contributory pension scheme for farmers, it is a central sector scheme, that is also true. Okay, now as it is pension scheme, there will be some entry age for enrollment, and here it is not 21 years, 18 to 14. Okay, 18 to 40 years. So this is incorrect. First is correct. It assures minimum monthly pension of rupees 3,000 on attaining the age of 60 years. This is correct, we can say. 134, that is the correct answer. 134 only. So B is the correct answer. Okay. Now, one more government scheme is asked here, but here only objective of PM Pranam initiative that was launched in 2023. PM Pranam, क्या है full form इसका? Yes, PM or Prime Minister Program for Restoration, Awareness Generation, Nourishment and Amelioration of Mother Earth. PM Pranam. From, if you know the full form, you will get the correct in terms of objective. So what is that? Yes, to improve the ecological health of Mother Earth through sustainable farming practices. So reducing the intensive use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, and moving towards sustainable farming practices like organic farming and natural farming. So this is the objective of this initiative. D is the correct answer. All right. Now again term based question, but it is, we can say, very GK type of question. UPSC is asking such kind of question, no, GK type of question. So what is set jetting? Yes, set jetting, set generally हम देखते हैं कि मूवी या सीरियल्स जो शूटिंग होता है ना, right, they have sets. Now we come across several destinations that we see in the movies or web series, and we find them very beautiful, attractive, and we let's say have this, that we keep this in mind that we will someday visit that particular place where this, let's say, movie or let's say web series has been shot. So this is phenomenon, set jetting. Okay, so you can see from the option, a phenomenon when travelers seek out destinations they have seen in the movies or web series. This is, we can say that one of the web series in Netflix recently, let's say it was in news, and that term was asked in Indian Express. It was explained there, so that's why we have asked this question. Now, Cities Coalition for Circularity, C3, very important initiative recently launched by India. Okay, it is launched by India, not World Economic Forum, current affairs. Okay, and yes, it is a kind of city to city collaboration for sustainable urban development, city development, especially in Asia Pacific region. So multi-nation alliance that India has launched. Second is incorrect. One only is the correct answer here. Now again, location based or map based question, places in news. Yes, all these have been continuously in news. Corridors, Philadelphia corridor. ठीक है, आपको सही आया होगा, right? Philadelphia corridor, it is located, or it is a demilitarized border zone between Israel, not Lebanon, with Egypt, Gaza border. 15-kilometer patch, 100-meter wide, Philadelphia corridor. So we can say this is incorrect. Jangejur corridor, Zangezur corridor, dispute between Armenia and Azerbaijan. This is correct, we can say Zangezur corridor it is called. And from that narrow corridor only there is, we can say, passing from one country to other country. So many times it is in news. Darien Gap because of donkey route and recent, let's say, repatriation of illegal migrants from US to India. It is in news continuously. Darien Gap. Where it is located? Panama and Venezuela, South America. This is incorrect. कहाँ पर है वो? Yes. So it is located in Panama from the north, Central America, and South American country. कौन सा है? Yes, Cambodia. Sorry, not Cambodia. Cambodia is Southeast Asian. Colombia, pardon me. Okay, it is Colombia, and it is a densely forested area, and here a lot of drug cartels are there, gangsters are there. Darien Gap, it is very harmful, we can say, for traveling. ऐसे ये news में रहता है, right? So this is incorrect, we can say. Only two or only one. How many पूछा हुआ है? तो only one pair is correctly matched. A is the correct answer. The next is, in the context of international affairs, Anaconda Plan. Okay, so Anaconda Plan refers to. It was in news recently. Why? Because the Taiwan Navy had allegations against China or Chinese military that they are implementing this Anaconda Plan or Anaconda strategy against that island nation. ठीक है, तो what is that? It is a military strategy to pressurize the country without any full-fledged war. That is correct, we can say. It is a military strategy. And it can involve military as well as economic sanctions. So it basically encircles that territory. तो एनाकोंडा क्या करता है? एनसर्कल करके उसको प्रेशराइज करता है प्रे को उसके. So the same way, this is called as anaconda strategy. A is the correct answer. All right. Finally, yes, US Constitution. Yes, Donald Trump, the new president, when he came into power, immediately he said that the 22nd amendment to US Constitution can be renegotiated. Now, what is 22nd amendment to the Constitution of US? It talks about limiting the number of times or limiting the number of terms that US president can hold its position. Yes, according to US Constitution, no one can be elected more than twice as the president. This was, we can say, added through 22nd Constitutional Amendment Act. If the vice president becomes the president during the term of their predecessor, they can still serve 2 full terms. Now, this is also a correct statement. Both, you should know that in US, when office of president becomes vacant, then automatically the vice president becomes the president for remaining term. ठीक है, वहाँ पे कोई नए इलेक्शन नहीं होता immediately, तो वो 4 साल में ही होता है बाद में. Now, there is a condition, but look at this. Vice president becomes president during the term of predecessor. They can still serve. However, what is that condition? It should be less than half of the remaining term. मतलब क्या है? 4 years का term होता है. So it should be less than 2 years. The remaining term should be less than 2 years. Okay, so we should understand this provision. So here word is used can. So of course they can. ठीक है, भले ही condition हमने नहीं लिखा है, but they can serve full. But when? Yes, when the remaining term for president is less than half, that is less than 2 years. So both statements, that is C is the correct answer here. All right, so yes, so these are the current affairs questions. Now if you have any doubt, you can ask in the comment box and we will try to address your queries. So you can register for remaining Panchsutra 3, 4, 5 that we are going to have in the coming month, and you can try to, let's say, evaluate your preparation before the final examination on 25th of May 2025. Okay, thank you.
So welcome to the discussion of Panchsutra 2 economy sections. So in this particular discussion, we'll see the questions which have been asked in this particular test from the economy section. So the first question which was asked was 51st question. It says, consider the following. So first we'll see the command. Which of the institutions given above are considered as all India financial institutions? So AIFIs are specialized type of banks. They are basically non-banking financial companies, and they are into developmental financing. They are into developmental financing. There are various AIFIs. So first we'll see whether the options given are AIFIs or not. NABARD is correct. NABARD cater to rural financing. So this is correct. This is an AIFI. Industrial Development Bank of India. Sorry, this is a scheduled commercial bank which is owned by the Life Insurance Corporation of India. So this is not an AIFI. National Housing Bank. This is the regulator for all the housing financial companies. This is an AIFIs. Third is correct. Power Finance Corporation. This is a normal NBFC, not an AIFI. So this is incorrect. Apart from that, we have SIDBI, Small Industry Development Bank of India, which cater to small industry development, specifically financing to MSME sector. Then we have Exim Bank, which ensures export and import credits, trade credits, development of foreign trade. And then we have NABFID, National Bank for Infrastructure Financing and Development. NABFID. So this is for long-term infrastructural financing. So these are AIFIs. So first and third are only correct. So D would be the correct answer for question number 51. 52nd question says, India has seen a huge sell-off in the equity market in the recent times. This is correct. So the equity market after September 2024, because of announcement of Chinese stimulus, and at the same time there was a time of Donald Trump coming into US and US dollar getting strengthened. So that led to huge sell-off in the equity market, and round about 25% of market cap got eroded. So there was an erosion of 25% of collective market cap of top companies listed in Bombay Stock Exchange or the National Stock Exchange. This is correct. Profit to GDP ratio of listed firms have increased by more than 3 times since 2020. This is also correct. So profit to GDP ratio was 1.6% of GDP in 2020, and it has increased to 5.1% of GDP by 2024. However, if the profitability has increased, technically the equity market should have come up. Equity market should have bounced back, but there were other factors that were playing in. So this statement is also correct, but this statement is not explaining the major explanation about the statement 1. So B would be the correct answer. (53rd question). So this is a new type of pattern. So it says, statement 1 says changes in reserve ratio. Reserve ratio means CRR or SLR have more direct impact in the banking system than changes in policy repo rate. This is a correct statement. So if the repo rates are cut, the monetary policy transmission are slower. This is all because the decision to pass on the rate cuts to the lender or to the depositor is incumbent on the bank, individual bank, whether they want to pass it on. They check the liquidity position, they check the credit demand as well as the depositors base. Based on that, they pass it. However, there have been external benchmark lending rate, a kind of a thing in case of flexible floating loans. For example, those of home loans which are based on floating rates, which are linked to say external benchmark like repo rates, or it could be MIBOR, Mumbai Interbank overnight lending rates. However, the monetary policy transmission, whenever there is a policy change, a rate cut or any increase in policy rates like the repo rate, it is generally slower than as compared to those which is changed in the reserve ratios. So the second statement says monetary policy transmission is largely dependent upon individual banks' discretion to pass the changes in policy rates. This is correct. RBI cannot directly command that you need to reduce the rates, the credit rate or the deposit rates. It can nudge rather than force it. It is dependent upon the decision of the individual bank. This is correct. A change in reserve ratio changes the liquidity position of the banking system. This is correct. This is also correct. The moment CRR is reduced, what happens? extra liquidity is injected in the system and it happens rather quickly. That is what is known as money multiplier effect. So that is why changes in reserve ratio has a quicker effects as compared to changes in the policy rate. This is also correct, and both the statements are 2 and 3 are correct, and together they explain statement 1. This is correct. D would be the correct answer. 54th, an upward yield curve of treasury bonds reflect near-term risks in economy. So, if the yield curve traces the yields which are actually sought by investors for bonds of different maturities. If the curve is traced, then we get a yield curve. It could be upward trending, it could be flat, or it could be inverted. Whenever there is upward yield curve, it shows that there is no risk in near term. No risk. And as the tenor is increasing, as the maturity period of the bond is increasing, there is additional risk premium dependent upon the increased tenure which has been sought by investor rather than any near-term risk. So this is an incorrect statement. It does not reflect near-term risk. An inverted yield curve is a signal of recession in near term. This is correct. So what would happen if there is an inverted yield curve that shows that short-term maturity of the treasury bond, shorter the maturity of treasury bond, higher is the yield being sought. And why would the yield being sought be higher? Because they feel that in near term there would be certain fluctuation in the economic system or there could be impending recession. However, in long term that may subside. However, that is why an inverted yield curve is a signal of impending recession that the market feels. So that is why this statement is correct. So out of the two statements given, second statement is correct. B would be the correct answer. So there have been many crops which have been given. How many of the above are Rabi crops which receive the minimum support price, MSP? So if we talk about the total crops which get MSP, there are 22 notified crops first. Out of them, 14 crops are Kharif, 6 crops are Rabi and 2 are commercial crops. So out of the Rabi crop, it is Masoor, Gram and Wheat. There are 6 crops, out of them 3 have been mentioned here. These are Rabi crops which get MSP. Apart from these are Kharif crops. So that is why 2nd, 4th and 6th are correct. 3 out of 6 given are correct. A would be the correct answer. Fifty-sixth question says, a currency convertibility is an indicator of openness in an economy. Obviously, how easily a domestic currency can be converted into foreign currency and how easily vis-a-vis, the opposite, how vice versa, how easily a foreign currency can be converted into local currency for investment or taking the capital back if these conditions are concerned. Allowing full capital account convertibility. India follows full current account convertibility wherein all those transactions which are listed in the current account of the balance of payment, there is no restriction as far as converting local currency into foreign currency is concerned. However, if the transactions involved are related to capital account, there are certain restrictions as far as the quantum of money which can be converted into foreign currency. So, allowing full capital account convertibility may increase the risk of capital flight from India. So, second statement is incorrect. A would be the correct answer as first statement is correct. 57th question, with reference to purchasing managers index, consider the following statements. The index shows trends in both manufacturing and services sector. This is correct. Individually, PMI manufacturing and PMI services are released. These are high frequency indicators released on a month-to-month basis. This is correct. It does not capture the activities in the informal sector. This is also correct. It only collates data about the inventory, about the order books of the formal activities, not the informal sector activities. It is brought out by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry on a monthly basis. No. Although it is brought out on the monthly basis, it is brought out by S&P, Standards and Poor Global. So this is a private international research firm which brings out the PMI services as well as manufacturing indices. So third is correct, incorrect, 1 and 2 is only correct, A would be the correct answer. 58th question says, with reference to sovereign green bond, whenever green bond is written, it is SGRBs. Sovereign gold bond is SGBs. So sovereign green bond, consider the following statements. These are government debt instruments. Obviously, these are government securities whose proceeds are exclusively earmarked or invested to finance environmentally sustainable projects. This is correct. This is the whole purpose of sovereign green bond. They generally have lower yield than conventional government security. This is correct. And the extra yield which is foregone is known as greenium. So the basic premise is the investor wants to collect or wants to receive lower interest outgo given the bonds proceeds are invested in environmentally sustainable projects. Okay, so that is greenium. This is known as greenium, extra premium which is foregone. They cannot be held as part of the statutory liquid ratio quota bonds. No, they can be considered as part of SLR quota bonds. So 1 and 2 are only correct. A would be the correct answer. Coming to the 59th question, with reference to the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, it's a flagship scheme about the crop insurance. Consider the following statements. The scheme covers all food and oilseed crops. This is correct. The burden of insurance premium is fully shared by the central and the state governments with no co-payment from the farmers end. This is incorrect. So the burden is shared in a ratio where the farmer is required to pay 1.5% for Rabi crop, 2% for Kharif, and 5% of the premium amount for horticultural crops. And whatsoever is the total premium, apart from what is being paid by the farmers, the rest is shared equally between the central government and the state government. However, there is a payment from the farmers end also. This is incorrect. The scheme covers losses during pre-sowing as well as post-harvests. This is correct. This is comprehensive coverage. First and third are correct. C would be the correct answer. Coming to the 60th question. The Ways and Means Advances is a facility for both the central and the states to borrow from the RBI. This is correct. The governments are allowed to draw amount in excess of their WMA limits. This is also correct, but there is no correlation between the two. So B would be the correct answer. So WMA, the Ways and Means Advance, was brought out in 1997. It replaced the ad hoc treasury bills. So what used to happen whenever there used to be any fiscal deficit which was short term in nature, it was as if there was a short term mismatch in cash flow. RBI used to issue ad hoc treasury bill and RBI used to only buy it. So it in a way was a kind of deficit financing. So ideally it is inflationary in nature, so that is why it was abolished, and in place of that WMA was brought in. However, the condition is it is only used. There is a limit which is set mutually by the government and RBI. They set together and they set a limit for half yearly basis for the first half and the second half. And within that, the idea is they cannot fund the fiscal deficit, rather it can only fund the mismatch in cash flows. At the same time, the rate at which this advance is offered to the respective governments is at repo rate. However, the governments can also run into exceeding the time limit if they go beyond 90 days. Then 2% penal charge is added over and above the repo rate. So in a way, they need to make sure that these funds are given back within 180 days. So the limit is 180 days. For the first 90 days, it is the advances are given at repo rate. Beyond that, it is 2% plus repo rate. That is available for states as well as center. And there is a specific limit which is set for half yearly basis, which is an agreement, it's a joint agreement between the government and the RBI. So then jumping to the 96th question, it was again from economy. In case of a depreciation of rupee, so depreciation of rupee means rupee moving from say rupees 85 towards rupees 90. RBI is most likely to sell dollars in the forex market. This is correct, because whenever there is depreciation of rupee, that shows that there is strong buying for US dollars. And if there is no supply which is injected from RBI's end, it will further depreciate Indian rupees. So rather what RBI does, RBI starts selling US dollars in the forex market to maintain the value of rupee in the international forex market. In case of appreciation of rupee, appreciation means opposite. It generally becomes less profitable for IT services firm to cater foreign clients. This is correct. Basically, this statement is talking about the services exports take a hit. What happens whenever there is a currency appreciation? Obviously, the payments would be done in US dollars, but converting back into Indian currency, the profitabilities of of the Indian firms which are catering to US clients would go down in local currency terms. So that is why this is also correct. Both the statements are correct. C would be the correct answer. So consider the following statements about the Vostro account. So Vostro account is your account with us. So it basically, a foreign bank opens an account in an Indian bank which is located in India, and the particular account is in local currency denomination rather than foreign currency denomination. So it's a type of account that domestic bank hold. This is correct. For foreign bank, this is correct. In foreign currency, no. In local currency, not in foreign currency. So if there is a Russian bank which wants to open an account, say with SBI, which is located in Mumbai, so they can opt for Vostro account, but the account transaction would be done in Indian rupees. So the purpose is to facilitate foreign trade. If India is importing something from Russia, so the payment can be facilitated by bypassing US dollar, rather the payments can be settled in Indian rupees. The idea is this. So this is incorrect. It helps settle import bills, this is correct, in local currency, not in foreign currency, as a means to bypass the use of US dollars. So this is also incorrect. Both the statements are incorrect. D would be the correct answer. Coming to the 98th question. So consider the following statements about RODTEP, that is remission of duties, taxes on exported products. RODTEP, this is a scheme. It is aimed at refunding various embedded taxes and duties on exported products. This is correct. So the purpose is, rather than giving export subsidies to facilitate higher exports or to make India's exports more competitive, the government is ready to forego those taxes if those products are being exported in foreign countries in a bid to boost exports. So it's a kind of revenue foregone kind of a thing. So this is correct. It replaced the WTO incompatible, this is correct, MEIS scheme, that is merchandise exports from India scheme. This is also correct. It has been extended to advanced authorization holders, export oriented units and special economic zones. This is also correct. All the three statements are correct. C would be the correct answer. Coming to the 99th question, drip pricing. So drip pricing is a kind of dark pattern. It's a kind of dark pattern wherein e-commerce sites deliberately hide certain taxes, duties which are compulsive in nature to be paid by the end user. However, they hide it, and at the end, when you're about to pay, they impose all those taxes which are actually mandatory. The aim is to mislead the consumers by having hidden charges. So all those hidden charges, till you are not going to the card, they will not show it. At the time of just payment, they'll show that these are the taxes which are to be borne, and this in a way pushes you to buy. It's a kind of dark pattern, bluffing with certain ways of ideas. So the last question of this paper, which was an economy question also. So the question number 100 is, consider the following. We'll see the command. How many of the above can push investment in an economy? Abundance of skilled labor. This is correct. Obviously, if the skilled labor are more, the cost of production in terms of wages would go down. Higher interest rate, this is incorrect because it would lead the increased cost of capital. Increased cost of capital, this is incorrect. Lack of infrastructure, obviously the logistics cost would go up. High budget deficit would lead to crowding out effect. This is high logistic cost and this is crowding out effect. Crowding out of private sector in investment landscape effect. And predictable inflation, this is correct because the businesses can plan capacity expansion depending upon the gradual increase in demand. So first and fifth option are only correct. So A would be the correct answer. How many of the above can push investment in the economy? Only 2. So these were the questions. It was mixed of conceptual part as well as certain you can say factual information. So thank you.
Hello everyone, let us begin our discussion for Polity section, Panchsutra Paper 2 for Prelims 2025, right? So the question paper starts from Polity section itself. The first question is, with reference to the fundamental rights of the arrestee, consider the following statements. Failure to communicate grounds of arrest to the arrestee in a meaningful way violates Article 22, Clause 1 of the Constitution of India, rendering the arrest illegal. So this statement is correct. And second statement is, if the arrest is held unconstitutional due to non-compliance with Article 22, Clause 1, the subsequent judicial remand by mentioning the grounds of arrest in a remand report can validate it. This statement is incorrect. It is cannot validate it. So the right answer would be A1 only. Next. Consider the following about the office of the Lokpal. It is a statutory body established under the Lokpal and Lokayuktas Act 2013. Both the judicial and non-judicial members are appointed by the President of India. It has the power to recommend the transfer or suspension of public servants connected with the allegation of corruption. Now, this might be a bit confusing because allegation of corruption or the proving of the offense of corruption, these are two different things. Second one is, we know that there are 4 judicial members and 4 non-judicial members, along with 1 chairperson of in the Lokpal, right? So, all the appointments are made by the President of India on the recommendation of the selection committee. And you all know that selection committee is composed of the Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition, Chief Justice of India, Speaker of the Lok Sabha, and couple of more. One would be eminent jurist, right? So based on the recommendation of the selection committee, all the appointments are made by the President. So this statement is correct. First statement is correct. In the third statement, recommendation of transfer and suspension solely on the basis of the allegations, yes, the Lokpal has that power to recommend for the transfer and suspension of public servants, and as long as the inquiry is taking place. So that can also be done. All the 3 statements are correct. The answer would be C, all 3. Next. Consider the following statements. The 42nd Amendment in 1976 introduced Article 48A, mandating the state to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forests and wildlife of the country. This statement is correct, right? Second statement is Constitution of India recognizes environmental rights as absolute and fundamental and offers protection from the adverse effects of climate change under Article 14 and 21. Second statement is also correct. In a recent judgment by the Supreme Court in the Ranjit Singh versus Union of India, the Supreme Court said that the environmental rights are absolute and fundamental. And the third thing is the exact phrase used by the Supreme Court in the judgment was that every individual has a right for the protection from the adverse effects of climate change, right? And both these are interpreted under the Article 14 and 21 of the Constitution of India. Third, the fundamental environmental rights under the Constitution are available even against the persons other than the state or its instrumentalities. This statement is correct. Once we read the judgment or once we understand the judgment, the horizontal application of the rights as well as vertical application of the rights. In the horizontal application, the rights are available even against the individuals which are non-state individuals, right? Or which are not the state instrumentalities. Now, this was interpreted in the Kaushal Kishore judgment couple of years back. So once we read both the judgments, the Ranjit Singh case as well as Kaushal Kishore, together, we can infer that the rights are available even against the persons other than the state or its instrumentalities. All the three statements are correct again, and the right answer would be answer C, all three. Consider the following statements. Land acquisition by the government for a public purpose is a sovereign power of eminent domain. Yes, the state can acquire a land which is meant to be used for the public purpose, right? And state has this sovereign power. They can acquire any land, be it for making the highways, the infrastructures, the critical infrastructure. So yes, the government has that power. Second one is, in respect of an acquisition where possession of the land has been taken by the beneficiary, even the government is not mandated to withdraw from the acquisition of the subject land. This statement is correct, as the government can withdraw from the acquisition before the possession is given to the beneficiary. Once the possession is in the hands of the beneficiary, the government cannot withdraw from the acquisition, right? Once the possession is vested with the beneficiary, it can be returned to the original owner through the private agreements. Now, what this statement is saying is that once the land is acquired by the government and the land is transferred by the government to the beneficiary, then the beneficiary can come in contract with any individual party or the previous owner of that particular piece of land. And that beneficiary can sell, purchase, or get in contract with the other private individuals for the sale, right? Now, this statement is incorrect. Once the land is acquired for the public purpose, it is mandated to be used for the public purpose and it cannot be used otherwise. So, the third statement is incorrect. Right answer is answer C, 1 and 2 only. Consider the following statements. An order passed by the High Court bench in a case not assigned to it by the High Court's Chief Justice is considered void. Okay. Second statement says the Chief Justice of the High Court as primus inter pares holds the exclusive authority to allocate cases to the benches, and this allocation is final and binding. This statement is correct. Right? We have heard that a couple of times that Chief Justice of India is the master of the rooster kind of thing, right? Now, in those particular sense only, the Chief Justice of any particular High Court also has the power to allocate cases to particular benches, right? The second statement, consent of the parties in a case cannot confer jurisdiction on a bench that has not been authorized by the Chief Justice. Now, there has been this one particular episode where which particular High Court was it? Now, in this particular case, there were two parties who were getting into the litigation process, and they said in a review petition to a bench to review the judgment given by the single judge bench of that particular High Court, and the new bench agreed to hear that particular case. Now, what happened was the bench gave the judgment, and then when the case was taken to the Supreme Court, it was realized that the bench was not allocated by the Chief Justice of India. And according to the Supreme Court in that particular judgment, the Supreme Court says that not just the party is involved in the litigation, but it is the power of the Chief Justice of the High Court to allocate cases to any particular benches. So these two statements together clearly and correctly explains the statement 1, which says that any order passed by a particular bench of the High Court, which was not allocated, which was not assigned for a particular case, that particular judgment can be held void or is considered void. Right? So the right answer for this particular question is A. Both the given statements, statement 2 and 3, correctly explains the statement 1. Next question. Which of the following statements is correct in context of the doctrine of stare decisis? Now, we have seen that UPSC has been asking certain doctrines time and again. Now, doctrine of stare decisis was in news recently because of a major judgment given by the Supreme Court. The judgment was Sita Soren case, right? Now, in that particular case, they overturned the judgment given in the Narasimha Rao case, right? In Narasimha Rao case, it was said that the freedom of speech and expression of member of parliamentarians was absolute. In Sita Soren case, it was said that the freedom of speech and expression of member of parliamentarians is not absolute, rather it is confined. And if there are cases of corruption, bribery, or cash for questions, cash for voting on the floor of the House, then that will not amount to freedom of speech and expression, rather it will amount to corruption. So, there were certain sections of the judiciary and lawyers which said that in a particular kind of case which is similar to a case which was decided earlier by the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court is bound to adhere to the judgment given by the previous bench or in a past date. They said doctrine of stare decisis. Essentially, look at the decision given in the past. On similar matters. And the Supreme Court said that the new judgment will not violate the doctrine of stare decisis because the earlier judgment was flawed and we are trying to rectify the mistakes made in the past, right? So this was the exact reason for this particular question now. It compels the Supreme Court to always adhere to its previous decisions. Incorrect. The doctrine applies equally to all courts in India, irrespective of their hierarchical position, meaning a trial court's decision can bind a high court, not related. The principle that courts should abide by settled decisions unless there is a compelling reason to overturn them. Correct. It is a discretionary principle in India, allowing judges to disregard the binding precedents based on their personal interpretations of justice. Incorrect. So, compelling reason to overturn. So, that was stare decisis. The right answer is option C. Consider the following: a structured mechanism facilitating the populace selection of representatives, and alienatory procedure employed to designate governmental functionaries. Exclusively conducted within polities characterized by democratic governance. The conduct of elections invariably guarantees unfettered and equitable participation. Guarantees. How many of the above given statements are correct in the context of elections? So only one statement is correct. The right answer would be A. The Constitution of India was amended in 1992 to provide for the third tier of democracy as local self-government. Consider the provisions: reservation of seats for SC, STs, reservation of seats for the women, constitution of State Election Commission. Which of the above given provisions are correct? All three are correct. Now we know the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. And seats were reserved for SC, STs, women, and there was a provision, mandatory provision for having a state election commission to oversee the elections process in the panchayats and other urban local governance bodies, right? So all the three statements are correct. Simple question. Next, with reference to the private member bill, consider the following statements. A private member's bill is only introduced and discussed on Fridays. 1 month's prior notice is mandatory before the introduction of the bill. A private member's bill can only be introduced in the Lok Sabha. Speaker or chairman can reduce this time. Only Lok Sabha, incorrect. So only statement 1 is correct. Answer is A, only 1. Next. The 6th schedule of the Constitution of India provides which of the following? Dual citizenship, Incorrect. Reservation in educational institutions empowers tribal communities with self-governance and safeguards their traditional ways of life. It outlines the process for the creation of new states and union territories. So the right answer is option C. Next, simple question. Now, this is question 71. Mullah committee seen in the news recently was aimed at. Now, we all know that in the past, recent past, 2023, we have seen that there was a draft model prison rules, right? And the committee is also related to the improving of prison conditions. It was in news. Let us have a look on other statements also. Creating a dedicated national police agency to address urban crime, revising Indian criminal law to ensure gender neutrality in the laws, improving prison conditions, and integrating artificial intelligence tools to enhance the effectiveness of the India's policing system. So, yes, the options are a bit confusing, but we know, or at least we should know that Mullah committee were in 1983 or 88. 1983, yes. It gave the recommendations for improving the prison conditions in India. And we have seen recently in news many things related to the apathy of the populace imprisoned or put behind the bars under trials, and how it violates their right to life. And we have seen too many discussions in the recent past on that particular topic. So Mullah committee was related to improving prison conditions, right? Simple question from the current affairs. Next, who among the following serves as the chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission? A retired Chief Justice of India or a sitting judge of the Supreme Court? Retired Chief Justice of India or a retired judge of the Supreme Court? A retired Chief Justice of India or the retired Chief Justice of any of the High Courts? A retired Chief Justice of any of the High Courts or a sitting judge of the Supreme Court? A very static factual question. You must, the option seems confusing, but I believe most of you must have attempted it correct. A retired Chief Justice of India or a retired judge of the Supreme Court is the chairperson of National Human Rights Commission, right? Next. With reference to the pardoning powers of the President and the Governor, consider the following statements. Governors can grant pardon to any person convicted of any offense against any central law. Governors cannot pardon a death sentence even if a person is convicted of any offense against any state law. The President can pardon a sentence given by a court-martial, whereas the Governor cannot. The right answer is, now very simple question from the standard textbooks. Most of you must have done it correct. The right answer would be option B, only two statements. So, President can do that. Right, next. Consider the following statements. A person who is not a member of either house of the parliament can also be appointed as a minister. Correct? Only those persons can be appointed as ministers by the president who are recommended by the prime minister. Correct? Which one of the following is correct in respect? So both the statements are correct, but not the right explanation. So for question number 74, right, the right answer would be option B. In which one of the following ways is the concept of we the people given in the preamble connected to the fundamental rights enshrined in the Constitution? Fundamental rights exist independently and are not affected by the other laws or actions. the government to have the authority to grant or deny the fundamental rights based on its discretion. Fundamental rights are inherent rights belonging to every individual and not bestowed by the government. Fundamental rights apply equally to all citizens and do not discriminate based on the social status or privilege. Option C seems to be the most appropriate answer for question number 75, that fundamental rights and the preamble to the Constitution of India, which says that fundamental rights, as people, we give those rights to ourselves and they are not dependent upon the denial or grant from the government, central government or anybody else, right? So fundamental rights are inherent rights which belong to every individual and not bestowed by the government, right? So next, right, so we have discussed all the questions from the polity section, and I believe few of the questions were very simple directly from the standard textbook. Few questions were complex in nature, couple of questions, right, that the property and acquisition question was tough, though it was a recent Supreme Court judgment, it was in news. Mullah committee was in news, right, from the current affairs. The next part was from what we say, the doctrine of stare decisis, very important judgment in Sita Soren case by the Supreme Court of India. So overall, all the questions from the polity section were balanced, few from the standard texts, few factual, right? The chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission was a very factual question, and few analytical questions, and I believe you all are preparing well for the upcoming prelims examination, and we have left with 3 more Panchsutra tests. So just in case you have a fear or you are not optimally prepared for any of the subject or sections of your syllabus, be it current affairs or any of the standard subject, polity, economy, history, geography, environment and ecology, do revise them properly. Try to connect the current affairs with the static factual parts, and utilize the next 1.5 months in the proper and focused revision. So that's it from my side today, and we'll meet next on our Panchsutra 3. Hope to see you there. Good luck. Thank you.
Hello students, I'm Priya, and I'm going to discuss history questions of Panchsutra test 2. Generally history is all about static information, but here we will see some questions with regard to current developments as well. Okay? We'll see the first question here. This question is regarding advent of European. Okay? Previously UPSC has asked about how Europeans have fortified different factories at different location of the country. Okay? In this regard, we will see the first statement. English received Sultan of Golconda permission to build a factory at Madras, which later became the Fort St. George. Actually, this particular permission was given by ruler of Chandragiri, okay, and not by Sultan of Golconda. He is particularly related to Golden Farman, okay, which was given in year 1632 and was related to trading privileges. Okay? So in this regard, question statement 1 becomes incorrect. The French obtained permission from Shaista Khan, the Mughal Subedar of Bengal, to establish a township at Chandranagar in Kolkata. Actually, this is in year 1673. Okay? French was granted this permission by Shaista Khan, so this becomes a correct statement. Also in the year 1673, Sher Khan, who was a governor of Bijapur, has granted Francois Martin, who was the director of Masulipatam, okay, the site in Masulipatam. Okay. So this particular year becomes very important in this regard for French company. Okay. So here 2 will be the correct option. Mahe, Karaikal, Balasore and Kashim Bazar were important trading center of the Danish East India Company. Actually, Danish East India Company has 2 major centers. Tranquebar, which was in Tamil Nadu, and Srirampur, which was in West Bengal. Okay? So these two are important sites associated with Danish East India Company, and other sites mentioned here were related to French East India Company. French and English were very much there in conflict during the period because of the trading and the rule, who will rule the country, okay? And eventually during the Carnatic War, French lost and English become the supreme power in the country. So here 2 will be the correct option, answer B will be the answer. Option B will be the answer. Now you see the second question. The Marathi literary work called Stri Purush Tulna, a comparison between women and men, a critique of patriarchy, was published by. Actually this is considered as first modern Indian feminist text. Okay? And it has been written by Tarabai Sindhe. Okay? So she was very much vocal about the social practices during the period, and she had also mentioned one very famous and oppressive practice during the period related to parda and the seclusion of the women, which is Marat Mole. You can remember this term also. Okay? So he was also associated with Servants of India Society founded by Jyotirao Phule and wife was Savitri Bai Phule. Okay? So all these 4 women were very much associated with the social reform movement of the period and obviously with the Indian freedom movement. So yes, Ranabai Ramade, the wife of Mahadev Govind Ranade, was also very much associated with the social reform movement. Okay? So in this regard, answer C will be the correct option here. Okay? See the question number 23, Pabna revolt. Often UPSC has asked about revolts, like they have asked previously about Munda revolt. Okay? So this revolt become a favorite topic of UPSC. Okay? Here in this regard we will see the statement 1. The main form of struggle was violent social boycott movement organized by the Rayas against Jamindar. Okay? Actually this particular Pabna revolt was not a violent social boycott movement, but it was a form of legal resistance. What happened that during the period, Yusuf Shahi Pargana of Pabna district, okay, here tenants organized agrarian league, okay, against the oppressive practices of Jamindar, that they were like kind of depriving the tenants of their occupancy rights. Okay? So they organized this agrarian league and raised the fund and went on the rent strike and eventually take the Jamindar to the court. Okay? So it became a very non-violent movement which was based on the legal resistance. It was not a violent social boycott movement. So here it will be the incorrect option. It was supported by Indian Association under Surendranath Banerjee. Yes, this is a correct statement because the revolts during the period, if you see the post 1857 revolt, they were very much supported by the intellectuals during the period. Like Deccan revolt was supported by Pune Sarvajanik Sabha. Similarly, this Pabna revolt was supported by Indian Association under Surendranath Banerjee. So this is one of the features of the period. Bengal Tenancy Act 1885 was passed by the colonial government to protect the tenants from worst aspect of Jamindari operation. Yes, this is a correct statement. That many non-violent movement during the period got generally success. Okay? So what happened that even the Deccan revolt you will see got this Deccan Agriculture Relief Act passed during by the colonial government. So this was a major feature of the period, that whatever revolt was a kind of non-violent, they used to get success to some extent. Okay? So this act was passed by colonial government. So here 2 and 3 will be the correct option and B is the answer. Okay? Indian Council Act 1892. Okay? Statement 1, this is a session region question. So here we will see the first statement. It introduced the principle of representation and element of direct election. Okay? Acts has been previously asked in the UPSC examination and this is a very much favorite topic of UPSC. Okay? So in this regard we will see the first statement, that it has introduced an element of indirect election. Yes, this is a correct statement and even this continued in the Government of India Act, Indian Council Act 1909 as well. And finally in Government of India Act, the concept of direct election came. ठीक है, तो here this statement becomes correct. It empowered the bodies like university, district board and chamber of commerce to recommend member to imperial legislative council. Imperial not, it was associated with provincial, because how can a district board, a local level government can direct recommend member to a central legislative council, right? So this becomes incorrect in itself. This is a contradictory statement. ठीक है, so here answer will be C, where C statement 2 is incorrect. ठीक है, if it had been provincial, then it would have justified the statement 1. ठीक है, then it would have been, the answer will be A, but here answer will be C. Next question. This is regarding the socio-religious movement and leaders and literature associated. ठीक है, we'll see the options. First, Satya Sodhak Samaj related to Jyoti Rao Phule and Digdarshan. Digdarshan was a Marathi monthly magazine. It was the first Marathi monthly magazine. ठीक है, and was by Bal Shastri Jambhekar. ठीक है, and not by Jyoti Rao Phule. Satya Sodhak Samaj has two very famous literature, Gulam Giri and सार्वजनिक सत्य धर्मा. सत्य धर्मा. ठीक है, so here this becomes incorrect. Servant of India Society, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and it was also by M.G. Ranade. ठीक है, they used to train national missionaries through this particular movement, and they had this Hitavada as associated literature. So yes, this is a correct statement. Ahmadiyya movement, Mirza Ghulam Muhammad and Tahdib ul Akhlaq. ठीक है, this was by Aligarh movement. Both this movement, Ahmadiyya and Aligarh, was associated with the reform of Muslim society during the period, but this particular is related to Aligarh movement by Sayyid Ahmad Khan. ठीक है, so this becomes an incorrect option. This Ahmadiyya is related to Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, who he was the founder over there. So, but this particular literature is not associated with the particular movement. So here 2 only will be the only correct option, C. ठीक है. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee. This question has been asked in the backdrop of because it was his 125th birth anniversary previous year. ठीक है, so he becomes important for the UPSC examination in this regard. ठीक है, see the statement 1. He was given the title of Karma Yogi by Mahatma Gandhi. Karma Yogi title was given to Madan Mohan Malviya by S. Radhakrishnan. ठीक है, Malviya, Madan Mohan Malviya. ठीक है, so this becomes an incorrect option. He started Bangwani, a Bengali journal. ठीक है, Bangwani Bengali journal was started in 1922 when he became the secretary of presidency, and he was associated with the editorship of magazines over there. So he became associated with literature. So he started this Bangwani, and also a Capital magazine which was edited by Pat Lowell. ठीक है, he also wrote under this magazine by the pen name Ditch. ठीक है, he called himself Ditch, and he had written in this magazine also. So this becomes important, and later he also published a daily newspaper known as Nationalist. ठीक है, in 1940s. So this becomes a correct statement. He became the youngest vice chancellor of Calcutta University in 1934. His father was also associated with this Calcutta University as vice chancellor only. So he was very much associated with education sector from the very early age. So at the age of 33, he became the youngest vice chancellor of Calcutta University. And during his vice chancellorship, Rabindranath Tagore gave his convocation in Bengali. ठीक है, so this was a very major and big thing during the period. ठीक है, so remember this, that 2 and 3 here will be the correct option. B is the correct answer. ठीक है, see the next question. This is regarding a current development where a controversy over illustration of the constitution has been in news. So also UPSC has previously asked about this Pingali Vinakya. ठीक है, who has been the designer of national flag. So question can be asked regarding personality, that who has calligraph the constitution. ठीक है, so we will see the question number 1, statement number 1 in this regard. Constitution was handwritten by calligrapher Prem Bihari Narayan Rayjada. Yes, this is a correct statement. Jawaharlal Nehru, our prime minister, had persuaded him and he has agreed to the task. ठीक है, see the second statement. The preamble page has intricate patterns sketched by Nandalal Bose. Nandalal Bose and his team has been very much associated with the paintings of Constitution, but this preamble page was particularly written by had its intricate patterns by Behar Ram Manohar Sinha. ठीक है, and also remember one name for the sketching of national emblem of India is Dinanath Bhargava. ठीक है, so these names becomes important. Please try to remember because UPSC has a tendency to ask this kind of question. ठीक है, bull seal from the Harappan civilization is the first pictorial representation in the constitution. Yes, this is a correct statement because the constitution, if you see, it has been depicted, paintings are depicted from earliest part of the history from IVC Indus Valley civilization to the freedom struggle. So by default, this bull seal becomes the the first pictorial representation in the constitution. So here it is the correct. Also see the explanation of the questions. ठीक है, you will find all the leaders that has been mentioned and pictorial representation of them has been found in the constitution. So you will find Asoka, then you will find Rani Lakshmi Bai, you will find Mahatma Gandhi. ठीक है, तो go through the explanation page, you will find more information. ठीक है, see the next statement, next question 28. This is regarding Hindustani music. Hindustani music and Carnatic music are two major forms of classical music, right? So here Hindustani music is like, it has 10 major schools and 3 of them are mentioned here. Tarana style, then this Dhrupad, ठीक है, and Khayal music. ठीक है, so all some other schools are like Hori, Dhamar. They all are depends on the region, like Tappa in Punjab. ठीक है, Hori and Dhamar has been recently in news because of the festival of Holi. ठीक है, and Tappa, then Thumri. These are all major schools of Sargam. ठीक है, are major schools of Hindustani music. So try to remember these schools and we'll see this question in the regards of these 3 major schools of the Hindustani music. Tarana style was invented by Amir Khusro and was used by Guru Gobind Singh in his compositions. Actually, this is a correct statement that he has invented this Tarana style. Also, Khayal music and Qawwali, he is known to invent these forms also. So yes, this becomes a correct statement. ठीक है, see the next. Baba Gopal Das and Tansen were musical master associated with Dhrupad music under the patronage of Akbar. Yes, this is also a correct statement. They both were associated with the Dhrupad music, and also one major name Swami Haridas, who was a guru of Tansen and Baiju Bawra, or is also associated with the patronage of Akbar. ठीक है, so remember the names. And this Tansen was earlier associated with the Mansingh of Gwalior. ठीक है, later he moved to the court of Akbar and he also got the title of Mia under Akbar only. ठीक है, he has given this title Mia Tansen. ठीक है, so here this becomes the correct option. Hussain Shah, a Sarki ruler of Jaunpur Sultanate, patronized Khayal music in 15th century. We have seen that this has been invented by Amir Khusro only. ठीक है, and he has patronized this particular school. So here all will be the correct. D is the correct option. Next question. This is regarding miniature paintings in India. Another art and culture question. ठीक है, we'll see the statement 1. Tanjore painting. It was patronized by Maratha ruler during the 18th century. Yes, this is a correct statement. Before Maratha, Vijayanagar rulers had patronized this painting, and also this is very important because it has a GI tag also. ठीक है, and the base of this painting is generally glass or wood. What happens that paintings generally have the base as cloth or they use paper for the base of the painting, but Tanjore painting has this feature of glass and wood as their base material. ठीक है, also one major feature is use of gold leaf. ठीक है, they use gold. ठीक है, So this becomes an important in this regard. So first is correct. Mysore painting use gesso paste, which gives a particular base to the painting. Yes, this gesso paste is made up of lead powder and gomboz and glue. Okay? So this gives the base to the painting. So this becomes an important information regarding Mysore painting, and this is a correct information. Okay? Paintings as Nata Charita, Durga Charita and Panchatantra are known to be associated with the Mewar school. This is all paintings are associated with Marwar school. Also, you know the Kishangarh school is one of the sub school of Marwar school, and question has been previously asked about Bani Thani, which was associated with Kishangarh school. So this type of paintings can also be asked in the UPSC examination. So remember these paintings. Also, if you know, Mewar school is famously associated with Tamasa painting, and very famous painter Sahib Din, is related to this Mewar school, who is known to have painted this Bhagavad Purana, Ramayana, Ragamala. So remember these paintings, these are associated with the Mewar school. So here 1 and 2 will be the correct option. So A is the answer. Next question. 5 Kalyanak is associated with. Generally, UPSC has this tendency of asking terminology-based question of Buddhism and Jainism. Like previously, they have asked about Parivrajaka, Paramita, which was related to Buddhism. Similarly, it can be asked 5 Kalyanak is what and associated with which religion. So here answer will be Jainism. Actually, it was 2555th birth anniversary, or you can say Janma Kalyanak of Mahavir last year. So this becomes important in this regard. There are 5 Kalyanak. First is Garbha, second is Janma, third is Diksha, fourth is Keval Jnana, fifth is this Nirvana. So all these 5 Kalyanak is important. Remember these things and was associated with Jainism. So answer B will be the correct option here. Next question. Sangam literature. Sangam literature, Sangam economy, Sangam polity had often asked in UPSC examination. And also last year to this year, Kasi Tamil Sangam is being held over the year now. And this third edition of this particular meeting has mentioned about the philosophy of this particular Rishi, Agastya Maharishi, who is known for the Siddha medicine, Rig Veda. He has like propounded the philosophy of Rig Veda in south of India. So it becomes important in this regard. See the first statement. Agastya Maharishi, often held as father of Tamil literature, credited with the compilation of Tamil epic Silappadigaram. Actually, this particular literature has been written by Elango Adigal, who was a Jaina monk and a Chera prince as well. So this becomes an incorrect statement. Agastya Maharishi is particularly associated with Agiyattam, which was a book on Tamil grammar. That's why he is referred to as father of Tamil literature. So here it will be the incorrect. Trivallavur composed 3 Kural, which is a part of Pathinen Kil Kanakku, a work about ethics and morals. Actually, this is a correct statement, as this particular work has been divided into 18 parts, and one of the part is this Tirukural. So this becomes a correct statement. Here 2 only will be the only correct option. See the next question. 82. She ruled as a governor of an area known as Kishukadu, situated in the present district of Bidar, Bagalkot and Vijaypura, all are associated with the Andhra Pradesh, and was also famously known as Gunada Vedangi. So see, Akka Devi, Chalukya princess, is known for governing this particular area, and she was the governor over there, and known for the patronage of education, patronage to Hindu and Jain temple. So C becomes very important in this regard. And also this question has been asked in the backdrop as two very famous gold coin, rare gold coin has been found in Telangana district recently of Akka Devi only. So this C becomes important in this regard. Okay? Also, if you see Rudrama Devi, she was a Kakatiya queen related to Warangal fort, and Loka Mahadevi was also a Chalukya princess like Akka Devi. Okay? Sorry, she was a Chalukya queen. She was a Chalukya princess and she was a Chalukya queen. Okay? So Loka Mahadevi is associated with this Virupaksha temple. Okay? If you know, she has commissioned this temple. Okay? She is also very famous queen of this period. And Gautami Valasri was the mother of Gautami Satkarni, who was a Satvahana ruler. Okay? So here B will be the correct option. And all the queens are very important for their time period. See the next question, forts. Okay? This has been in news in the Yojana magazine. I have also referred in the explanation also. Please go through all other forts of the period. Okay? So here we will see all the 4 forts. Kotapalli fort, which was the strategic coastal fort of Qutub Shahi rulers. Okay? This is a correct statement. Yes, this was related to the Qutub Shahi ruler. Konda Vidu fort, headquarter of Reddy kingdom. Before Reddy, it was fort of Kakatiya. Okay? And after Reddy, who was associated with this Rayalaseema region, okay, it becomes the fort of Vijayanagar. Then after it becomes the fort of Golconda. Okay? So this Konda Vidu fort is very important, and it has been argued and it has been put that it should be included in UNESCO World Heritage Site. See what happens and when it be included in the UNESCO World Heritage Site. Okay? See the third, Penugonda fort, principal fort of Kakatiya. No, this was related to Vijayanagar. Okay? So here 3 will be the incorrect match. Okay? Chandragiri fort, after the fall of this Penugonda fort, what happened that Vijayanagar shifted their capital to Chandragiri. Okay? And this was the last capital of Vijayanagar. Okay? So here this becomes correct and only 3 will be the correct option here. These forts are important for UPSC examination. Please have a note of this. Okay? Regarding the economic condition of Bahmani Sultanate, consider the following statement. Dharmapattanam. Often UPSC has asked about the sites and associated with which kingdom. Like they have asked about port previously. That Motupalli fort is related to Kakatiya kingdom. Okay? So similarly, they can ask Dharmapattanam, right? Like Chaul and the Wall are very important ports of Bahmani kingdom. So remember these sites. Okay? Also Bhatkal, which had been asked previously in UPSC examination. Okay? So these sites should be remembered. Similarly, Dharmapattanam has served as a shipbuilding center. Yes, this is a correct statement. See the next statement, Nikitin, the Russian traveler mentioned regarding the commercial activities of Vidar. Actually, yes, this is also a correct statement. UPSC has this tendency of asking foreign travelers and their description also. So yes, Nikitin has travelled during the period of Bahmani Sultanate and Vijayanagar kingdom. So he had mentioned about the commercial activities during the period regarding all the commodities that were being traded. Also, he had mentioned about the slave trade. Okay? So his book Voyages Beyond 3 Seas, okay, had mentioned about these features, and here this becomes a correct option. This is also correct. So here both 1 and 2 will be the correct option. Okay? Now we will see the last question of this test, last history question of this test. Okay? See the first statement. This is regarding Sivagalai. Okay? It's a Mesolithic site located on the northern bank of Thamirabarani river. Okay? Actually, recently it has been news that Iron Age began on the Tamil soil. Okay? It has been in news. It is not a proved theory. Okay? So in this regard, iron age sites of the southern state can be in the very hot topic for the UPSC. So remember these sites. Okay? Also there are many other sites that have been mentioned in the explanation. Please go through that also and remember those as well. Okay? Here we will see this, the first statement, the Sivagalai is not a Mesolithic site, it was a iron age site. Okay? So here it becomes incorrect. Kiladi, located on the bank of Vaigai river, was an urban civilization in the Sangam era. Sangam era was generally a rural civilization, but there were few urban centers associated with this age as well. Okay? So this was a mix of, kind of mix of both urban and rural kingdom. Okay? So here this particular site Kiladi is, which is located on the Vaigai river, was an urban centers. Correct? So here this will be the correct and this will be incorrect. Two only here will be the only correct option, and both these rivers are also mentioned in the Sangam literature also. So remember this name of the river and all the facts associated with this particular question. Okay? And please go through the explanation, you will find more information, and for any doubt you can ask in the comment section. Thank you and all the best.
All right. So all of you have participated in the Panchsutra test 2 and you know the standard of the question papers that are being set at Lukmaan IAS. All right. So as of now, we are going to discuss the science and technology section, right? We are going to go through each question and I'm going to help you understand why we framed certain questions and let's say what is the difficulty level of these questions. And you know that science and technology is one of the most important aspects for the prelims exam because the same GS paper is conducted by UPSC for civil services exam also and for forest services exam also. And forest services exam is basically science driven. Okay, so that's why science and technology is given due importance in the prelims exam. A lot of questions comes every year. All right, so you need to be prepared for science and technology also. Now, this is one of the question from science and technology section. So this question is related to genetically modified crops. Okay. Or in short, we know it as GM crops. All right. So two statements are given. So number one, it says CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing technique is being used to develop crops with enhanced nutritional content and improved yield. This statement is right. You must be knowing about CRISPR-Cas9. CRISPR is clustered, regularly interspaced, short palindromic repeats, and Cas9 is a kind of protein or enzyme that attaches with the gene. Okay, so it helps in, this is a tool for doing gene editing, right? So through gene editing, we are developing, let's say, genetically modified crops as well. All right, so this statement is right. Second statement says that India has fully adopted GM crops for commercial cultivation across all major crops without any regulatory oversight. This statement is wrong because we have not fully adopted GM crops. All right. So there is a very stringent regulatory mechanism in the country. Only few selected crops are given approval, right, by a committee which is known as Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee. Okay, GEAC. I mean, like this actually approves genetically modified crops, and it is based on certain criteria. I mean, like whether the crop has the kind of potential to hurt the let's say like human health, whether it is going to have negative externality for the fields also. So a lot of tests and trials are done, and generally India adopts a very cautious approach. I mean, like in accepting any kind of GM crop. So only first statement is correct related to this question. Now let us talk about second question, okay, which is question number 62 here. So this question is related to a project. Its name is Project Waterworth. Okay, Project Waterworth. So what do we mean by this project? Basically, the parent company of Facebook, which is Meta, so they have decided to lay underground cables, not underground, but underwater cables, right, across the ocean surfaces. Means like they want to connect multiple continents through those cables, and these cables help us to connect with the internet. Okay, so like they are going to lay, I mean, thousands of kilometers of those cables under the ocean floor. Okay, so they want to connect 5 continents. Okay, name of 4 continents have already been given. I mean, like 5th continent will be anything in future. So it is a projected project. Okay, so it is Project Waterworth. So it aims to deploy world's longest subsea cable system by connecting 3 continents. So it is not 3 continents, they want to connect 5 continents. All right. So what will be those 5 continents? Basically, like one of the continent is, let's say like one of the continent is US. I mean, like they are going to connect US, then India, you know, like Indian subcontinent, Brazil, right? South America, right? And South Africa also, okay? And let's say many other areas will be connected by them in future, okay? So that's why it is 5 continents. So it was in the newspaper articles. So the project uses AI-driven maintenance and deployment technique, okay? So like here, the maintenance of the cables will be done by artificial intelligence, okay? So it will be AI-driven maintenance and deployment technique. The subsea cable system will use 24 cable pairs to enable ultra-high data speeds and capacity. This statement is also right. So correct answer is option C, which is 2 and 3 only. Statements 2 and 3 only are correct related to this particular question. Now let us see this particular question. This is question number 63. It says, consider the following statements about Paras-2 spectrograph. Okay, Paras-2 spectrograph. What do we mean by spectrograph? Basically, like, you know, it's an instrument, scientific instrument that helps us to kind of, you know, divide different color components of light, right? Based on their wavelength, based on their frequency. So different color components of light will be visible. And why Paras-2 spectrograph has been developed? It has been developed so that, let's say, like, you know, they can study, right, different types of stars, and they can study the planets revolving around those stars. Okay, so they want to study supermassive, let's say, like, you know, or massive like Earth-sized planets that revolve around different stars. All right. So in this question, it says its primarily objective is to detect and characterize massive planets orbiting M-dwarf stars using the radial velocity method. This statement is wrong because the type of star that is mentioned over here is different. Okay, so basically through Paras-2 spectrograph, they want to study about G-type and K-type stars. Okay, K-type stars. So what do we mean by G-type and K-type stars? G-type stars are also known as yellow stars. Okay, and this is known as orange color stars. So what do we mean by yellow stars? I mean, like, these stars are of comparable size as that of the sun. Okay, so sun in our solar system is a star, right? So Earth, like planet Earth and many other planets, revolve around the sun. Similarly, the G-type stars are yellow colored star. Their size is comparable to the size of the sun. Okay, so G-type star and K-type stars will be studied. I mean, like, basically we are going to study the planets that revolve around those stars using Paras-2 spectrograph. Okay. So the spectrograph is located at Aryabhat Research Institute. Also, this statement is wrong. Basically, this spectrograph is located at Mount Abu. Okay, Mount Abu in Rajasthan. All right, it is located at Mount Abu, Rajasthan. So neither 1 nor 2. Correct answer is option D. Okay, option D is the right answer over here. What do we mean by M-type stars? They are low mass main sequence stars. They are most abundant type of stars in the universe and have a long lifespan due to their low mass and energy output. Okay, so they are known as M-type stars. So now let us look into another question. So this question is related to a chip that has been in news. It is Microsoft's quantum chip. Okay, its name is Majorana 1. Okay, Majorana 1 quantum chip. It has been developed by Microsoft. Okay, so what is the significance of this chip? Basically, like, this is a quantum chip, so it works on quantum computing principles. All right, but the framework that it uses is very, very unique. For the first time in the world, Microsoft has developed this particular chip. So Majorana 1 is world's first quantum chip powered by a topological core architecture. Okay, so topological core architecture is the uniqueness of this particular quantum chip. It leverages the topo conductors to create more reliable and scalable qubits. So earlier there was a scientist who has written a research paper saying that, like, you know, topological core architecture can be developed inside atoms. But the thing is, like, people believed that it is only hypothetical, it is not practicable, okay. But the thing is, like, Microsoft has been able to develop a quantum chip based on the same topological core architecture. So that's why it is significant, all right. So the current version of the Majorana 1 contains a million qubits. So this statement is wrong because it does not contain a million qubit. How many qubit does it contain? It contains only 8 qubits, okay, 8 qubits. So this is the current version. I mean, like, for the first time in the world it has been developed. But the thing is, in future Microsoft is working further so that, like, they can develop the Majorana 1 to certain extent that, like, it can contain millions of qubit, okay. So that's why second statement is wrong. I mean, like, second statement, they want to achieve it in future, but the current version has only 8 qubits, okay. So option A is the right answer, only one. Let's see question number 65, all right. So this question is related to antiretroviral therapy, okay, ART. So you know ART actually is very important method, right, for individuals who are living with HIV, human, let's say, immunodeficiency virus, okay, HIV, like that, okay. So it says in 2025, ART means antiretroviral therapy, has become more effective and accessible, with new classes of drugs offering improved drug regimens and reduced side effect, enhancing the quality of life for individuals living with HIV. This statement is right, okay. So we have done a lot of improvement and enhancement in the kind of, you know, ART therapy, and so it is more effective now, and it is very helpful for people who are living with HIV. Now the World Health Organization has announced plans to develop updated recommendation on ART, focusing solely on management of vertical HIV transmission. So they do not solely focus only on HIV. So apart from this, they also focus on tuberculosis, okay, like how do we prevent and reduce tuberculosis and many other things, like, you know, they focus on. So that's why it is not solely focused on HIV only, okay. So correct answer is option A, which is 1 only. Now we have another question. In this question we have 3 statements, okay. Quickly read this question. So this question is about Technology Adoption Fund. So what is Technology Adoption Fund? Technology Adoption Fund has been announced, had been launched by InSpace, okay. What is InSpace? InSpace. So InSpace stands for Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center, okay. So this is one of the entity of the government of India which is working in the space sector. It is an authorization body. So this particular body has created Technology Adoption Fund. So what this Technology Adoption Fund is going to do? Basically, Technology Adoption Fund is going to help the private sector startups, right? Startups to basically commercialize their product. I mean, like, you know, so through this fund, those private sector companies will be funded so that, like, they can make their initial ideas a commercially viable product, and so that they can actually, like, you know, leverage this particular fund for the benefit of the space sector in India. All right. So it says it has been launched by Department of Biotechnology. This statement is wrong because it has been launched by InSpace, Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center. Then second statement, the Technology Adoption Fund is exclusively open to government entities for funding. This statement is wrong. It is not exclusively open to government agencies. It is open to non-governmental entities also, which is in short known as NGE, okay, non-governmental entities also. The primary objective of Technology Adoption Fund is to increase India's reliance on space technologies. So, like, India want to be a self-reliant country, okay. So we don't want to rely on imported technologies. We want to be self-reliant. We want to develop our own technologies, okay. So that's why the Technology Adoption Fund has been launched, okay. So third statement is also wrong. It means correct answer is option D, none of the above. This is question number 67, okay. So this question is also important. It has been in news also. So here we are talking about Coalition for Sustainable Artificial Intelligence. What? Coalition for Sustainable Artificial Intelligence. So what is this coalition all about? Basically, I mean, like, you know, You might have heard about AI Action Summit, which has been hosted in France, and India was also invited over there. Okay, so basically it is related to that. So in the AI Action Summit, the Coalition for Sustainable Artificial Intelligence was announced. All right. So the first statement, it says the coalition is spearheaded by France. Yes, definitely. The United Environment Program. Yes, it was also there, and the International Telecommunication Union. So these are the three organizations, I mean, like, that had played a very important role. France is a country, and then United Nations Environment Program and International Telecommunication Union. So first statement is right. The coalition aims to reduce the environmental impact of AI by focusing on decarbonization, pollution reduction, and biodiversity prevention. This statement is also right. Okay. Third statement is wrong. Why? Because it does not solely or exclusively, it does not exclusively focuses on developing AI for use in developing countries. Basically, they want to create those AI systems that will be globally adopted, right? That uses lesser that emits lesser carbon dioxide, that is environmentally friendly. Okay, so that's why third statement is wrong. Okay, so they want to create global thing, I mean, like, so that this particular coalition for environment sustainable artificial intelligence is adopted worldwide. So first two statements are right. Now we have another question number 68. Okay, so this question is from physics. Physics means, like, it is from kind of astronomy related areas. So here they're talking about a concept which is connected with gravitational lensing. So you might be knowing about gravitational lensing if you have heard about black holes and many other supermassive bodies that bend the light. Okay, so the question is on Einstein ring. Okay, so it says the Einstein ring is a phenomena caused by gravitational lensing, where a massive celestial object bends and magnifies light from a distant background galaxy. This statement is right. The recent discovery of Einstein ring around was made possible by high resolution instrument of the Euclid Space Telescope. Okay, this statement is also right. Now the question is, the Einstein ring is not visible to the naked eye. Okay, it is not visible to naked eye. So to see Einstein ring, we have to have very, I mean, like, sophisticated telescopes like Hubble Space Telescope or Euclid Space Telescope, etc. Okay, so it is not visible to the naked eye. So only first two statements are right, which is option B, 2 only. Okay, first two statements are right. Now this is question number 69. We will read this question quickly to understand it. So it says, consider the following statements about Naksha program. Okay, Naksha program. So 3 statements are given. The Naksha program is a central sector scheme. This statement is right. Basically, this is a newly launched program where the central government is making the entire funding, okay, to support this particular program. So that's why we have written it is a central sector scheme. The program uses drone-based aerial photography with high-resolution cameras to capture detailed images of urban areas, facilitating accurate land mapping. This statement is also right. Okay, this statement is also right related to Naksha program. Now, what do we mean by Naksha? Naksha stands for National Geospatial Knowledge-Based Land Survey of Urban Habitation. Okay, so let me write down the full form also about Naksha. Okay, Naksha program. Okay, so what is the full form of Naksha? It's National Geospatial Knowledge-Based Land Survey. Okay, knowledge-based land survey of urban habitations. Okay, of urban habitations. National Geospatial Knowledge-Based Land Survey of Urban Habitations. This is the full form of Naksha program. Okay, first two statements are right. third statement it says, the initiative is implemented in all states and union territories. This statement is wrong because this initiative covers 152 urban local bodies across 26 states and 3 union territories, including smaller towns, not just major cities, okay? So this statement is wrong, all right? So it is not yet covering all states and union territories, but majorly it does it. So correct answer is option B, 2 only, okay? Then we have question number 70. It says, with reference to defense technology, okay, with reference to defense technology, consider the following statements. So let us read these statements one by one. So statement number 1, what it says, stealth technology completely eliminates the heat signature of an aircraft. This statement is wrong. Why? Because stealth technology does help in eliminating the heat signature, okay? It eliminates heat and noise signature also. In the sense that, like, you know, if a submarine is going and you have the submarine stealth technology capable, I mean, like, you know, it goes, then nobody will be able to track it. But like it is not 100% accurate. So some heat signature will be there, some noise will be produced by it. That's the thing, okay? It does not do completely. The use of anti-satellite weapon is banned under international law. This statement is also wrong because anti-satellite weapons are not completely banned under international law. Okay, means there is no comprehensive legislation to ban space, anti-satellite weapons. But like, you know, nowadays some calls are being made. Calls means like people are raising voice that anti-satellite weapons must be stopped. But there is no comprehensive law under international law to actually ban it. And it says UAVs are entirely autonomous and do not require any human control. Okay, this statement is also wrong because some UAVs means unaided aerial vehicle, in the sense like, you know, drones and all. Some of them are autonomous, but many of them require human control. Okay, it requires human control. So all the 3 statements are wrong in this question. Okay, so correct answer is option D. Okay, so with this, like, we have discussed all the questions of science and technology section. Kindly wait, the other faculty is going to come. He is going to take the discussion of the other portion also. Thank you so much everyone for watching this discussion. I hope you have a good day ahead. Thank you.